Good morning, everyone. Want to welcome everybody to the Community Initiatives Coordinating Committee meeting. Thank you so much for joining us, those in person, so I can see their lovely faces, and those online that I can see also. So thank you so much for being here. I'd like to call this meeting to order. And for those around the table, please turn on your microphone when speaking. For those participating via Zoom, please state your name when making a comment or asking a question. And we will now begin the meeting with a roll call of all members. So turn to our MAG staff.
Thank you, Chair. Councilmember Beckles. Oh, sorry, excuse me. Please share that you are here and your organization once your name is called.
Benita Beckles, City of Goodyear.
Thank you. Councilmember Bongiovanni. Taniqua Broughton.
Present, State of Black, Arizona.
Councilmember Conchas. Councilmember Condi. Jean Diadamo. Kathy Dinolfi.
Present.
Councilmember Dorsey.
Councilmember Dorsey, El Mirage, City Council.
Councilmember Ellis.
Present.
Councilmember Duff.
Jen Duff, City of Mesa.
Vice Mayor Garland.
Here.
Councilmember Goodman. Councilmember Hodge Washington. Councilmember Learman.
Amber Learman, City of Maricopa, City Council.
Thank you. Councilmember McMahon.
Town of Fountain Hills.
Jenna Panis.
Jenna Panis, Arizona Coalition to End Sexual and Domestic Violence.
President Patia. Megan Pocock.
Megan Pocock, Teros Health.
Todd Sandrin.
Present, Arizona State University.
Reverend Sexton. Supervisor Stewart. Deb Sydenham. All right. I believe with quorum present, then the Community Initiatives Coordinating Committee can now meet.
All right, so we have quorum. Thank you so much, everyone. We're going to go ahead and start our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. So those here, if you could stand and we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance.
Madam Chair, I was on mute when I said I was here. This is Mark Stewart with Maricopa County.
Oh, great. We knew we saw you somewhere. Thank you, Mark.
Sorry about that, guys.
That's all right. All right. I pledge of allegiance
The flag.
To the flag,
The
the United States of America,
And to
to the republic for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
God,
indivisible.
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you so much, everyone. So first we have our call to the audience. I have not received any requests to speak or a call to the audience. Have you received anything?
No,
Staff.
thank you, Chair. We have received no.
All right, wonderful. We will go ahead and move on. Information items. In items 4A through 4B are for information only. Does any member of the committee have any questions or request a presentation on any of these items? And you can see if someone raises hands, right? Okay, perfect. All right, hearing none, the next item on our agenda is item number 5, and it's the approval of the consent agenda. Items 5A through 5B are on the consent. Does any member of the committee have any questions or request a presentation on any of these items? No? All right, thank you. Prior to approval of the consent agenda, there's an opportunity for members of the public to comment on any item on the consent agenda. I have received no requests to speak for the consent agenda. Staff, have you received anything online?
Thank you, Chair. We have received no online comments for the call to the audience.
All right.
Consent agenda, excuse me.
Thank you. So do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda items 5A through 5B?
So moved.
All right, so we have a
I'll second.
first and a second. All right, we have a first and a second. We will have those participating in the meeting online take part in the voice vote by turning on their cameras and unmuting their audio. For those who cannot or do not want to turn on their cameras, staff will conduct a roll call vote. Members, please leave your cameras on until the roll call vote is finished. So can I have a voice vote of those in the room and online? Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, those opposed, say nay. Thank you, everyone. Staff if you can leave your cameras on, staff, can you take a roll call vote of members participating virtually who did not turn on their cameras?
We had all cameras turned on.
All cameras turned on. Therefore, our motion passes. Thank you so much, everyone. This item that we were going to move on to next, this item is on the agenda for information and discussion and will be presented by Carrie Williams, DPH Deputy Director, Jacqueline Edwards from the City of Phoenix Human Services Department Director, Tracy Hall, City of Phoenix Human Services Assistant Director, and Steve Martos, Phoenix Police Commander, and Susan Hallett, City of Phoenix Deputy Human Services Director. Where were they going to present here? Thank you so much for being here for the presentation. Get that out of your way.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. I am Jacqueline Edwards. I am the Director for the City of Phoenix Human Services Department. I am joined here today with Assistant Human Services Director Tracy Hall and City of Phoenix Police Commander Steve Martos, who are the chairs of the Phoenix Domestic Violence Fatality Review Team, also known as DVFRT. They are here today to present the 2025 City of Phoenix Domestic Violence Fatality Review Team report. We'll pass it off to Commander Martos to begin.
Good morning, and thank you for having us, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Again, I am Steve Martos, the commander with the Phoenix Police Department. I work in the Family Investigations Bureau, and I co-chair for the Phoenix Domestic Violence Fatality Review Team. We'd like to begin our presentation by defining what domestic violence is. Domestic violence is a pattern of abusive behavior in any relationship that is used by one partner to gain or maintain power and control over another intimate partner. This behavior includes physical, sexual, emotional, economic, psychological, technological actions or threats, or other patterns of coercive behavior. Each year across this country, over 10 million adults experience domestic violence. 41% are women and 26% are men. Based on the 2024 City of Phoenix Police Department's Domestic Violence Statistical Report, domestic violence calls for service in Phoenix totaled 33,408, resulting in domestic violence incident reports totaling 23,889. In 2024, assaults were documented as the most common form of reported domestic violence incidents to Phoenix police. Also worth noting is 35 cases were classified as stalking under the domestic violence crime types. The Phoenix Family Advocacy Center supports victims of domestic violence. In 2025, the center received over 3,400 referrals for service and nearly 4,000 adults were served in 2025. Over 15,600 individualized services, such as orders of protection, connection to shelter, and linkages to other agencies were provided to victims. Additionally, 785 medical exam referrals were made to our on-site partner, Honor Health. The Family Advocacy Center also partners with Child Help to serve children impacted by domestic violence and abuse, and they assisted 4,822 children last year. The Phoenix Domestic Violence Fatality Review Team, also called DVFRT, was created in 2006 as a result of the passage of Arizona Revised Statute 41-198. The mission and purpose of the Domestic Violence Fatality Review Team is to examine domestic violence fatality and near fatality incidents in order to improve our understanding of the dynamics of such incidents and provide concrete recommendations to improve system responses to domestic violence. The Phoenix DVFRT is comprised of staff from various city departments and representatives from external organizations in the fields of criminal justice, domestic violence advocacy, healthcare, and academia. The case requirements for a Phoenix DVFRT case review is the case must be a fatality or near fatality domestic violence related case which occurred in Phoenix and must be fully adjudicated. And now for the remainder of the presentation, I'll turn it over to my co-chair of the DVFRT, Tracy Hall, to provide information regarding the 2025 case reports.
Good morning. Again, I'm Tracy Hall, an Assistant Director with the Human Services Department, overseeing our Victim Services Division, which includes our Family Advocacy Center, and I am a co-chair for the Phoenix DVFRT. The 2025 case involved a heterosexual married couple with 3 children. The couple lived in the same home, but had discussed and contemplated divorce. The wife was seeing another man. The husband used a geotracking system to stalk the wife's location, and he subsequently went to her location. She was at her boyfriend's home. The husband walked into the house of the boyfriend and ultimately walked into his bedroom where he fatally shot the boyfriend. The wife ran into the bathroom initially to hide, and the husband left, and then he contacted his family members to see his children, and he turned himself in. Due to the complexity of the case, the committee found it difficult to identify multiple systematic enhancement recommendations. The recommendations provided in the 2025 report are broad approaches to educating, preventing, and addressing domestic violence. After careful consideration and much discussion, the Domestic Violence Fatality Review Team makes the following recommendations. Number 1, to research the need for domestic violence education and prevention programs. Due to the upswing in available technologies and exposure through social media, coupled with teen and young adult use of technology and social media results, in the heightened need for prevention and education programs focusing on healthy relationships, resources, and appropriate use of technology and public platform, the DVFRT recommends to create a subcommittee to explore current community-based initiatives and programming that are focused on healthy relationships, specifically for youth, including recognizing healthy boundaries and engagement with technology and social media. In addition, the same committee will seek to identify or develop a resource library and determine how best to share with residents and community partners. Second recommendation is to explore the need for expansion of a domestic violence education and awareness campaigns. While this can apply to all domestic violence cases, the team recognized in this case there were multiple opportunities for intervention, support, and redirection for all parties involved. So we want to explore expanding current awareness campaigns and seeking external partnership opportunities when available to create greater knowledge and broader reach, and ideally increased access to intervention and support. And within the City of Phoenix, with support from our Human Resources Department, the Police Department, Fire Department, and Human Services Department, we're exploring existing city training videos, and the recommendation is to review and develop new content opportunities to enhance or focus on domestic violence awareness, optional classes. We're also suggesting the research for a DV training module for all city employees to take on an annual basis. And it could include information on identifying domestic violence, available resources, and how to report domestic violence. The third recommendation is to research options to expand sentencing statutes to include a domestic violence enhancement. And this would include exploring 2 to 5 year sentencing increase for a person convicted of homicide when elements of domestic violence per ARS 13-3061 are proven, and then evaluating if legislative changes are needed. Recommendation number 4 is to present and share our annual DVFRT report with local government agencies, both within the city and external partners, as we are here today.
We have a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Councilmember McMahon.
Thank you. Sorry for interrupting. On the last slide with the legislature, is that going to be like a separate committee to form together to ensure that, address and ensure that legislation like this is drafted and developed and hopefully implemented, or is it already in the works?
Chair, Councilman Member McMahon, thank you for that question. And so part of the City of Phoenix, we have shared this with our council members. And so this is, as was shared, exploring the viability of this. And then it would go through our government relations. If actual legislative changes were needed, that would be explored during the next legislative session.
Okay, and how, I don't know, maybe this is getting too detailed, but how did you come up with like 2 to 5 years? Is that what like you guys determine is the biggest weakness as far as incarceration or whatever,
So-
they're assigned?
Can Commander Marcos please step in where you want to? But also we have 3 attorneys from the city prosecutor's office. We have someone from the county, and then working with the police department at hand. These were based on their experience and information, the recommendations that they came up with. In addition to the DVFRT's recommendations, there are several staff recommendations from the Human Services Department, and these include providing the next DVFRT an overview with the city's domestic violence awareness campaigns. So that includes Paint Phoenix Purple and our teen dating violence awareness. The services are provided through the Family Advocacy Center, and other outreach activities are conducted through the Human Services Department. Also, there's a recommendation to present the DVFRT report to the Human Services Commission, which we have done, or I'm sorry, which we will be doing, and the city's Community Mental Health, Wellness, Public Health, and Safety Task Force. And the third recommendation is to explore the development of a Family Advocacy Center resource guide.
Thank you for your time, Chair and committee members. We appreciate your attention to this important matter. In addition to any questions, we are also interested in hearing your feedback. We do have the specific DVFRT report, the QR code here for you to take a look at additional details.
Wonderful. That was it's an eye-opening and shocking report, but thank you so much for being here and sharing that with us. I will say, before I open up for questions, is I really like the fact that the detail in your report, but being able to break down the silos. So you're not just working from one department and then someone else in another department, that you are actually breaking those silos and working together on this common issue. So thank you so much. I will open it up if any other questions. Councilmember Dorsey.
Has it come up in the discussions about reaching those who need this information, mainly, and as young as it's appropriate for them to have it? Has anybody expressed frustration about the fact that it's really hard to reach people? I mean, we just did in El Mirage a teen dating violence, very good presentation. And we actually got into the high school to do it, and we had 2 students show up. Now, I'm not saying we're stopping because we obviously haven't reached enough people. They all need to know about this, but that is very frustrating. So surely that has come up. I cannot be the only person frustrated.
Chair, Councilmember Dorsey, thank you for that question. And so what I would say is, as it was shared in the report, the DVFRT and the members of that across, that represents many different organizations and different lenses. That was one of those items of making sure that there is a targeted awareness campaign to be able to engage with individuals who may need services and or how we can prevent domestic violence in our communities. The one thing that I am happy to share with where I think we have maybe a little less challenge than what you had shared, what was happening in El Mirage, is that we have multiple campaigns and staff dedicated to public awareness and partnering with other community-based organizations to be able to both share information, educate, share information on services, and focus on prevention. So as Assistant Director Tracy Hall had mentioned, the City of Phoenix does recognize, and I know MAG does as well, in support of Domestic Violence Awareness Month, which happens in October. But our Paint Phoenix Purple campaign that is initiated out of the Human Services Department does have activities all year round. And then two other campaigns that we have, April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And so that's Let's Talk Teal. We engage with community organizations, high schools as well. And then the other one is the teen dating violence awareness. So kind of those three major campaigns, even though there's specific months that are noted for each one of those, we do have staff that actually have sessions, support sessions, whether it's presentations from other community organizations or we're involved in community resource fairs at our local high schools, here in the City of Phoenix, as well as other efforts, whether that's through social media and whatnot. And we have had engagement. And what I'm pleased to say of the work of my staff is that we've actually seen engagement from teens, community members, and staff members increase over the last year. And we're happy to share any information that we have with our sister cities here because there's no reason to have to reinvent the wheel.
And also, I'd like to just add to that, our Parks and Recreation Department has a program called Project Brave, which is called Bringing Realities About Violence Education. And part of our intent as a result of these recommendations was to ensure that our committee was aware of all the things the city's done. So just last month, I think it was, we had that staff come out and they have established partnerships with schools where they do workshops based on what the school wants, all related to domestic violence or violence and the things to prevent and or address or identify with children, so or youth. I think they said they would go to schools and high schools as well. So that's another way that the City of Phoenix is working to address and tap into those resources.
Could you say what that is again? Brave?
Project Brave, and it stands for Bringing Realities About Violence Education.
Okay, thank you very much. We have a question from Jenna Panis online.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to make both a comment as well as a question. And first, ACES-DV has long been involved in the work of Paint Phoenix Purple and partnered with the City of Phoenix, and want to commend the city for such emphasis on outreach, both in the past and in the future. However, I did want to say that outreach is more than just a month. It's also a knowledge of what resources are available. And then prevention itself is more than outreach. So prevention can't just be having folks aware that domestic violence, it exists. It's also ensuring that we have systems that folks can take advantage of in order to reduce the impact of domestic violence itself on their lives. And that includes childcare, that includes food, that includes financial resources so folks are able to leave. And so that is a really complex system, and it's more than just a month. And I know the city of Phoenix realizes and recognizes that. I know these folks and have worked with them for a long time, and so understand their basis of knowledge. One thing I did want to ask, and the question here is, I noticed in the report that language access was a barrier for the victim in this case. And one of the things that isn't addressed in the outreach is that language access piece. And while the report doesn't identify what language the victim spoke, in addition to English, is there a priority on ensuring that that education and awareness is available in more than just English to address that significant gap in services that we experience throughout the Valley?
Yes, thanks. Thank you, Jenna, and thank you for the recognition of the work that we do in the city. And we greatly appreciate the partnership with ACES-DV. So all of our materials, our education awareness materials are both in English and in Spanish. We also have, if there were specific communities that we're outreaching to, or needs that arise, we are able to have, whether it's our brochures translated into other language, or to have a translator there to share information. I would also pass it over to Tracy to talk about our victim advocates and how we handle language of our clients through our Family Advocacy Center.
Thank you, Jacqueline. And thank you, Jenna. Again, thank you for your partnership and the work that we do every day with you. But yes, our victim, we do have bilingual advocates at the Family Advocacy Center. And if for some reason it is a language that one of our advocates do not speak, we can use a translation service when they come in to address the needs. Ideally, obviously, we would like the advocate to be able to speak a language, but that's not always feasible because abuse does not, it's not segmented to one or two languages. And so we recognize that, and we'll work with the online, with the translation service in real time to provide the information and hopefully walk them through the process as far along as we can.
It is I just one other comment. It's important to us to try at all costs to avoid using a family member or a friend to do translation. We want it, especially in developing a place of safety and a professional atmosphere in which a victim and or a survivor can share or receive information. And that's why we have those access to the other services.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Councilmember McMahon, and then I'll go to Councilmember Bongiovanni.
Thank you. It made me think of the fact that out in Fountain Hills, and I'm hoping that most high schools and other schools have resource officers from Maricopa County Sheriff's Office, because I know the one in our town has really cultivated great relationships in the high school and junior high. And she and I have talked, and she's mentioned that, not disclosure of anything, that not a lot, but a few kids have come up and spoke with her about being afraid at home and things like that. So they also have that resource, and I'm sure you probably know about it, but I don't know what the connection might be to work with Maricopa County Sheriff's about utilizing, those resource officers.
Thank you for the question, Madam Chair and members of the committee and Councilmember McMahon. Thank you for that. A lot of the discussions that we've had really recently has been about our school resource officers and school safety officers. And so they have a certain amount of curriculum that they have to provide to students. And as the question was provided earlier regarding trying to get information out to younger folks, right? And as was mentioned from a preventative standpoint, we believe information is power. And so if we can inform our residents, our members of the community at an earlier age of what is domestic violence, what is teen, but any of this information that we can provide to them, how to identify it, how to report it, how to stay away from it, how to acknowledge it if it's is something that is in you. And so we are working with our school resource officers to have a set curriculum that they will do every once or twice a year on different varieties of topics of different types of crimes or preventative type of information to them. So that is something that we are currently working towards. So thank you for that.
All right, thank you so much. Councilmember Bongiovanni?
Yeah, I know that correlation doesn't necessarily mean causation, but I was looking at some numbers yesterday from the town of Gilbert for the last 3 months of our domestic violence arrests, and compared that with the national inflation rate for January, February, and March, and did an analysis on it, found a 0.93 Pearson correlation between the two. So again, it doesn't mean causation, but I'm wondering, are we looking into any kind of potential causations and dealing with those as preventative measures?
Hello, sorry.
Hello.
I'm doing multiple meetings at the same time.
Jenna,
Hey, it's
you're on
okay.
now. You can go on mute, Jenna.
At least we all know how that is.
I know.
Jenna, can you put yours on mute, please?
Well, first,
Bless her heart. Yes, please. Thank you so much.
Good morning. My name is Kelly Donnelly Williams, and I'm a Deputy Director at the Public Health Department. I would just like to answer that question with a story. Early on in my career in public health, I worked in a local school district, and this was not a domestic violence project. It was actually an oral health project. The school district was so dangerous, I won't mention the school district, that they could not allow children to walk to school. And so the school district bused all the kids to school. But what they found was that if children were late to school and parents were bringing their kids into the office, they offered all of the parents a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And they looked at domestic violence rates in that school district before and after they started offering parents a simple peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And they found that the domestic violence rates dropped dramatically. And it was a simple peanut butter and jelly sandwich that made a difference. Sometimes it's just hunger that triggers people. And it wasn't about cultural competency. It wasn't, it was just that simple human touch. They offered every family member that came in there a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and that made a difference. So I think you're onto something there.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. I would just add to that the committee is really tasked to evaluate the case at hand. So although we like to look at what systemic things may be influencing, if it's not relative to that particular case, it is kind of out of the purview for that year for us to either evaluate, review, provide recommendations on. But I think as folks that are in the industry and understand, we know that stressors, there's been plenty of research that shows that any type of social stressors influence domestic violence behavior. They certainly don't cause it. They don't, it doesn't mean that anyone that goes through stress will have that same type of reaction. But we do know that there is a correlation as, students of the field.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you. That story, you're going to make me cry with that story. I mean, that's really touching. It's amazing how one simple thing, what a difference that can make. Do we have any other questions online? Oh, Councilmember Conscious.
Yes, hello everyone. So I wanted to add on to that is that it's a very touching story. I appreciate you talking about the peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Talking about teens and having them show up and having them be the messengers on safety when it comes to domestic violence is extremely important. And so I think that with this committee, we can talk in the future about combining our workforce development programs and our youth employment programs with domestic violence prevention programs, because we should be employing the youth in order to be the best messengers, in order to be the folks that are out there talking to their peers about this, because we need to be 100% honest, is that I trust the police, I trust the Glendale Police, the Phoenix Police, and everyone here, but there is a distrust of law enforcement, and especially the Phoenix Police in the community. And so although yes, SROs are amazing and they're great, you're not going to have as much involvement as you would if it's peer to peer rather than SRO to the high school students. And so I want us to think about this in a very innovative way, also understanding the cultural concerns that exist out there in the community. And also understanding that this needs to be funded for our students to be able to be peers. And also just a little soapbox of mine is that a lot of folks are talking about universal basic income, and understanding that when you give folks the power and the opportunity to manage their own finances, victims are able to become survivors and get out of the places that they live because they have that funding, or they have opportunities, because we all know that when a victim doesn't have any money, they're not able to get out in a very quick way. And a lot of victims stay because they can't afford to live without their partner. So thank you for listening to my soapbox, and I hope you all have a great day.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Councilmember Duff?
Yes, thank you. I might have missed it. I've been trying to listen in, but have we talked about domestic violence court? We implemented one in 2022 and have found some success with that in working with their perpetrators when they go to court, to put them required that they go through a counseling and checking in and everything. I mean, if prison time is deemed necessary, they do that, but it's done and right before they go to prison, but it's part of the recommendations of their sentencing. If it's a minor thing, they still have to go through it, and they have the check-ins, they work with a caseworker, and trying to control the situation, because often the perpetrators they're in these, if they have children, often in their families forever, or when they get out of prison. It's an ongoing issue. It doesn't disappear because they're in prison, right? If it's a short term, like just not a fatality, but just some kind of violence, it really has to be someone needs to work on and controlling their urges to be violent. We have to do something about that. So I know we have it, I think Pima County, maybe Tucson, but I just wanted to put that out there as well.
Thank you so much. Did you want to make a comment? Okay. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Councilmember Duff. Does anybody else have any comments or questions that we can put to our panel? All right, hearing none, I will just say, you had mentioned about the family advocacy resource guide that you're going to be putting together. It'd be great when you have that together, maybe having you come back and talk a little bit about that, because we all have a family advocacy center, some of us do, but being able to understand the information and the resources that you have might kind of help the rest of us as we move along also. But I just want to say thank you so much for your presentation and your time to be here. This has been really great. Thank you. All right, so we are going to go ahead and move on to our next agenda item. Thank you. This item on the agenda is for information and discussion and will be presented by Cleo Warner, MAG Community Initiatives Senior Planner. So Cleo, this is all yours.
Thank you so much. Would you mind passing? Thank you. All right, so we are going to hear some information and have some time to discuss the CICC 2026 Strategic Direction and Project Selection. So providing you all an update since this has gone through our MAG Regional Council. So the work of this group is really largely dictated by the projects that this group chooses to support. And we'll talk a little bit more about those in a minute, but these form the strategic direction for the CICC. And through this process, a direction has emerged of building community by ensuring vulnerable people have access to safe homes and spaces. So how did we get here. So this process really came about through the call for projects evaluation and approval process. This is something that has been shared with the CICC members previously. Amy has provided presentations in previous meetings walking us through this, but just to jog everyone's memory, we got here by a November 5th with the CICC approving a call for projects for creation of the strategic direction of this group. In January, there were 14 applications received by that deadline. And then the scoping team met, which is an action team of the CICC, to evaluate those projects. And then on our last meeting in February, the CICC approved those recommendations for the 3 projects we'll get into on the next slide. And on March 25th, the strategic direction was approved by our regional council. So the chosen projects are Bridges to Home, Update to Pathways Home, and the Thrive and Grow project. You heard more about these in our February meeting, but you'll hear much more about Bridges to Home in our next agenda item because we have a more full update on how that work is going, as it is a funded project and moving forward with action teams. The Pathways to Home update is seeking funding for a regional homeless action plan for local and tribal governments. So this is a plan that was activated back in 2020, 2021, I believe, and it's up for a period of update. So that was one of the chosen projects, as well as Thrive to Grow, which is seeking funding to provide capital improvements to a therapeutic garden and community hub in a neighborhood with high rates of food insecurity and poverty. So next steps for these projects. Bridges to Home is moving forward with its action team, and we'll hear much more about that in our next agenda item. For Pathways Home and Thrive to Grow, the next step is to meet with those project leads for those projects and form the action teams. And essentially what that will look like is both of these projects need a way to obtain funding. So that is going to be discussed with those leads and among MAG staff to figure out what are those best steps to form those action teams. And I will mention that should efforts for that funding not be successful around the December 2026 timeline, MAG staff will come back to ULSCICC members and reassess those projects and sort of look at the viability of them and determine whether or not moving forward with them makes sense at this time, or if there should be another reassessment for our projects that we take on here. So that wraps up our update of where we are currently with the strategic direction and projects of this group. So want to make sure everyone is sort of clear with what that looks like. So if we have any questions or want to discuss that further, happy to do so now.
Okay, I want to say, one of the things about pulling the CICC together from the other committees that we used to be on is that we were really interested in making a difference, to be a part of these committees, kind of narrow down the specifics of what we wanted to do and what we wanted to accomplish. I think this allows us to be able to do that. Nobody wants to be on a committee where you're just warming a seat. So I think these projects here give us the opportunity to really be able to do something and to really feel like we are making a difference in our communities. So thank you so much for this. And I'm looking forward to talking about the Bridges to Home and the other updates for us. But I just want to say thank you. And hopefully this is going to let all of our committee members feel like we are really starting to make a difference with this committee. So thank you. Councilmember McMahon, did you have a question? Oh, I'm sorry. All right. Does anybody has any questions or comments regarding the presentation?
I have a quick question. This is Megan Pocock with Teros Health. Do we know, I know that there's 2 other projects, I can't remember the names because I can't see them right now, but the 2 projects that are seeking funding, do we have a sense of what funding needs are there? Like, do we have kind of a budget that they've presented or have worked on, or is that what's going to happen with the action team?
Part of the evaluation process from the scoping team was understanding these project budgets and what the projected gaps were, where the funding needed to be filled in, essentially. And these 2 projects were selected in part due to the the nature of how much funding was needed, and the viability of being able to pursue that in the community. So that has been assessed previously. I imagine that working with the project leads and getting those action teams together will result in a further refining of that. But these are projects that had clear ideas of exactly what was needed in order to get them off the ground.
Along with that question, could we share the details again with our committee on why these were chosen? So because it has all that detail in there, if we could we'll go ahead and share that with everybody again, just to let you know the projects that we chose and why, and that detail will be in there, if that will help.
Yes, and currently that is available on the MAG website if you look at the agenda packet for our February meeting, if you want to access it before I'm able to send it out to you all again.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much for the question.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, seeing and hearing none, we'll go ahead and move on to our agenda item number 8. This item is on the agenda for information and discussion and will be presented by Peter Burnett, MAG Socioeconomic Data Manager. And so I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Chair Garland, members of the committee. Happy to be here today to present a brief update on the Bridges to Home grant that Cleo mentioned. Thank you for that introduction, Cleo, and Vice Mayor Garland. So the Bridges to Home grant, what is it? I want to give a quick background of the grant itself and then a little bit of overview. HOME is the acronym for Housing Opportunities in Mentorship and Education. I'll talk about the Bridges part in just a second, but what is the background for this grant? This is a grant from JP Morgan Chase. It's a $1.25 million grant, and Cleo, as Cleo mentioned, has been funded, and we're actively working on this grant right now. It was awarded to MAG in December of 2025, and it builds off the 2024 Home Technical Assistance Program. And this is where the Bridges part comes in that I wanted to talk about. So the 2024 Home Technical Assistance Program worked with member agencies for same thing, housing opportunities and mentorship and education with member agencies, cities and towns in the region. The Bridges part brings in nonprofit agencies and experts that work in housing affordability. So it kind of creates that bridge, and it's meant, this program and this grant is meant to continue that in a little bit different way that I'll talk about in just a second. As Cleo just mentioned in the last agenda item, this was chosen as one of the 3 designated projects through this committee's strategic direction. So a little bit of overview of what the goal is and purpose of this grant and how we're going to approach it. So really the goal of the grant is to plan for and address gaps in capacity, resources, and coordination. I like the coordination part, bringing the nonprofits together and the member agencies and all these groups. The gaps I'll talk about in just a little bit, but the next part is the technical assistance, continuing technical assistance, but you'll see listed there that it's not just local and tribal governments, but also nonprofits that will make the technical assistance available to. And then the education part is funding nonprofits to demonstrate innovative and affordable housing approaches. So all of these steps and part of the program are overseen by the Bridges Action Team, also supported by MAG staff. The action team is composed of local and nonprofit housing experts and government leaders as well. And we're actively meeting with the action team, I should say, and starting work on this project. And I'll talk about the timeline in just a second. But first off, the overall budget for the grant is $1.25 million. So $500,000 of that is going to be for oversight and support of the grant and work on the grant. $225,000 will go to the technical assistance to the local and tribal governments and the nonprofits, and then another $525,000 for those sub grants on those innovative projects that I talked about. So what does the timeline look like? Looking from August into next year, pretty much all of 2027. Before I get into it, really, like I mentioned, the action team's already working on this. We're working on developing project criteria, evaluation criteria, getting lists of consultants, and how those consultants are going to be chosen. So in August, we want to bring that work to the MAG policy committees for approval for the technical assistance projects. And then in September, the committee, or excuse me, the action team is also working on the sub-grant evaluation criteria. And we'll bring that to the MAG policy committees as well. Then also in September, we'll look at the TA call for projects, and we'll announce that and see what kind of projects that get submitted. And then right after that, in October, it will be the sub-grant call for projects as well. And also in October, we're looking at taking the TA project selection to MAG policy committees as well. And then in January, taking the sub-grant project selections to the MAG policy committees. And in between each of these steps going to the MAG policy committees, the action team is going to be working on selection of projects and evaluating projects and so forth. Yes.
Councilmember
Thank you.
McMahon.
Yeah.
The sub-grant call for projects,
Mhm.
how's that going to work, and who are you going to ask, et cetera?
The action team will work. Thank you for your question,
Yeah.
Councilmember McMahon. The action team is going to be working on, they're going to be very familiar with nonprofit agencies to look for and to reach out to let them know that call is going to happen. It will be posted on the MAG website, but we want more than what's just going to be on the MAG website. So the action team will be making sure that announcement and the proper nonprofit agencies are made aware of that, to at least put in for those projects. Yeah, thank you for your question. In so after all these are approved in these projects, so I should mention that from now through the end of 2026, it's largely administrative, and it has to go through certain steps and processes. 2027 is going to be the action. That's where the TA will be happening most of 2027, and the sub-grants will be happening also in 2027. At the end of the year into the following year, then we'll be creating a final report and summary of all these projects as well. So I mentioned earlier the gaps analysis. The MAG team created this gaps analysis to be kind of a guiding document for the action team. It's a lot of research using known resources, but a big part of the document is a survey that went out to 53 agencies, government and nonprofits, to really guide what should be the focus areas of technical assistance and these innovative projects. What are they going to focus on? So the gaps analysis was presented to the action team as a guiding document. The action team is creating a working group right now to really dive into it and to really focus or create a focus of what these projects should look like and how they're going to be selected. So what are the next steps for the grant? Like I said, the action team is currently working on reviewing the gaps analysis and defining the focus areas and preparing information to take to MAG policy committees. And then what we'd like to do is come back in November when a large amount of that administrative work has been done, and we'd be able to report to this committee on consultants and projects selected and what's happening and what's coming up for the sub-grant and so forth. So we want to give you an update later in the year when you meet in November. And with that, I'd take any more questions. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. So the timeline that we have set up is based on the grant, making sure that we meet the deadlines for the grant.
So those particular, thank you, Chair. Those particular timelines that we set are to get the project moving. We have to send some of those things like the consultant selection and evaluation criteria. We have to send those through MAG policy committees.
Mhm.
The grant itself is 2 years and did not define necessarily those steps. But to get the project moving, we have to take those steps through the MAG policy committees.
Appreciate that. Thank you. I will ask, can we share the gaps analysis report with the CICC, with our committee?
Certainly.
Because I've seen it, and I thought it was absolutely fascinating. I used a highlighter on stuff that I thought was like really important to go back and look at it, and I should have just highlighted the whole thing. It would have been a lot easier, or just not highlighted anything, just because it was all just really good information. So I would love to be able to do that. And also somewhere on our website under CICC, I would really it'd be nice to be able to know who the action team is. You know, when we break these out into action teams, to be able to have that listed that's under there so that we would be able to see them and see the people that are on that committee. That'd be great to be able to do. Does anybody have any questions or comments regarding the Bridges to Home update? Anything online? Nothing online? All right, we appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
For bringing this to us. I appreciate it. Appreciate the work of the action team and what they're going to be doing moving forward. So thank you. All right, so we are going to move on to item number 9. Are there any requests from the membership for an item to be put on a future agenda? Do we have anybody who has any suggestions? All right, so we have nothing. All right, so we will go ahead and move on to our next agenda item, which is comments from the committee. Do we have any comments or announcements from our membership that you would like to share with the rest of us? Anything online? All right. Well, I know there's some great things going on in all of our committees. You guys are all just being a little shy. But I will just say thank you so much for everybody for joining us for our meeting today. I will just say, just before we step off for adjournment, is it's great that we were able to get quorum today. Thank you so much. I really would love to see as many smiley faces in this room as possible next time. It is so much more fun and learn so much more when we are able to sit in the room. So I appreciate the fact that you're online and that we were able to make quorum when we got our meeting, but there are a lot of muffins and bagels now that we 4 of us here have to eat because y'all didn't show up. So just throwing that out there and giving a little bit of guilt today on a Wednesday morning.
I can feel it all the way over here. It's just coming. I have to hop on at 10:30, but I do have something to report really quickly.
Yes, thank you.
As far as in Chandler concerning child abuse for this month, we had a proclamation, and we also have a Feel of Hope that is put by the Exchange Club of Chandler, downtown Chandler. This year we had 111 flags put up. That's kids that died because of child abuse here in the state of Arizona. And each one of them is represented by a flag downtown in that field. So if anyone would love to come down and take a look, to get a moment to reflect, we have a lot of statistics posted around and different things like that. Exchange Club has been doing that every year, and I was there Sunday night to do the proclamation and then go over everything with the community. So I'm very grateful that we are able to bring the awareness. And as you said, this committee is put together for action, and so those are the different things that we can participate in to make sure that we are actionable in the things that we want to see happen in our communities. Thank you again, Madam Chair. I heard that Ms. Cleo is going to be leaving us. She sent an email, so I'm going to put her on the spot right now because this is another change for us, but we are going to continue to push through and make sure that this community do what, or this committee do what we are asked to do, which is to continually bring in actions into our communities for the betterment of those who live there. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you so much, Councilmember Ellis. Can you tell us how long are the flags up and where is it? Is it at a specific park?
Yeah, it is downtown at the AJ Park in Chandler. Right now, you can't miss them. The minute you pass on Arizona Avenue and Boston Street, it's right there. All the flags are, right there in that area. You can't miss it. It's right downtown Chandler.
Okay, and how long will it be up?
Everything will be up, I believe, until next week. So we are here for that whole 8 days. Yeah.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Okay, Todd Sandrin.
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you so much, and I look forward to joining in the future for those muffins. I can almost smell them from here on the Zoom, certainly. We just wanted to say, again, representing the ASU, certainly we've heard a lot of things about outreach and communication. We can amplify messages. Certainly we have a whole Wear Purple Day, so that message of getting out to the community, family violence and domestic violence awareness we can help with. We also certainly have assets across the entire university, not just in downtown Phoenix, not just in the West Valley, but for example, our School of Social Work has its full family violence center. So we stand ready to serve, and all of these parts of our enterprise are active and available, certainly not just to communicate, but to act and help coordinate too. So again, thank you for the time and the engagement.
Thank you so much. Councilmember Conscious.
Hello, everyone. I just want to give you an update that yesterday we gave consensus to approve the CDBG grants in the city of Glendale. So that was really nice to see 11 out of 16 of the community organizations that applied for those grants get those. And then just a comment is that I did sell my car because of these gas prices. So that's one reason why I am not there, but I could take my bike and then get on the light rail and then get on the bus. Actually, I might just need to do bike, bus, light rail in about 45 minutes and I'll be there, Madam Chair.
Oh, great. Now you're giving me guilt. But thank you again.
All of us for that matter.
Good for you for selling your vehicle. Okay, so the next meeting for the Community Initiatives Coordinating Committee will be on September 16th at 9:30 a.m. And again, I just want to, thank you everybody for being on this committee. I absolutely appreciate you, and I know that you're doing the good work, and we're all doing the good work for our community. So thank you so much. With no further business, today's meeting will be adjourned at 10:31. Thank you.